Before we go too far, I want to give you a little bit of background on Bloodhound and how we came up with the idea. We started off wanting to combine the interactivity of a video game with the narrative qualities of a movie. What we came up with was an interactive narrative. There have been several attempts on interactive narratives in the past, however none have been hugely successful. We looked at why these failed and came up with our own set of goals for our project. Our goals were to create a narrative where all interactions work towards maintaining the narrative, to incorporate a simple interface, and to have deep immersion and engagement visually, physically, and auditorily. We had 2 official deployment days for this project, April 11th and April 16th. Both were in the 360-degree projector room. We had over 30 people show up to try the project, but were only able to get 30 people through the space due to the average time of 10 to 15 minutes per user. We also had several classes come in to take a look, as well as some middle school students who were very excited to see what new media was all about. A lot went into this project. In addition to what you see here, we had to create the narrative, write the script, build our set, gather and make the props, film our actors, and then edit the 300-something video clips needed for the project, enter our scripts into a database, create that said database, create a website for the iPad, create motion tracking code, and create the character/wall control, which controlled the projectors in the room. For Bloodhound, we had to create a very immersive space. That was one of our goals. And to do this, we made a physical set to put into the 360-degree projector room, or Ape 2 space. And what we did is we built tables, found some stools, gathered props, bought props, made props. We had some drinks in there. We had popcorn that we had popped. All of this combined together to make a more immersive space.
So I handled the technical approach to our project. There are 3 main objects that communicate via a web server. The first object, the iPad, creates a session ID which all other objects, including the iPad, use to establish the same session across the board. The user uses the iPad to ask questions and trigger the end state as seen in the graph. The motion tracking is involuntarily tracking the user as they move around the room and triggering events when they enter certain hot zones. The wall control uses a session ID, hot zone event, questions, and end state to determine what video to play next. The web server is very central to everything we're trying to accomplish, and all information flows into it and out of it. The motion tracking system uses a camera placed above head in the space to watch the user as they move about the room. It compares 2 frames of video to find any differences and calls that motion. If that motion occurs within a predefined hot zone, a hot zone event is then sent to the database. Usually that activates the associated character and creates a greeting. The iPad interface is the user's main way to communicate with our project. Initially, the iPad opens up to an info tab which shows some basic information on how to use the interface, alongside 6 subject character pages. Each character page starts out blank, but with options for users to ask questions to that character. If they're in the right hot zone and interacting with the right character, those questions will be answered with responses. And as they see more responses, more information will fill out on the character info page. Finally, once they have communicated with all characters or decided that they have enough of the project, they can return to the info page to make their final choice on who they think their next victim will be. The character control system uses information coming from the iPad and the hot zone system in order to determine what movie to play next. If a hot zone event is triggered, a character will then play a greeting to the user who has just approached them. If a question is sent from the iPad, if it's a valid question, which is determined by the character control system, the associated response video will play. Finally, if the end state video is requested, that will play on a not active wall, which is defined as a wall that does not have characters on it.
The narrative of Bloodhound is broken up into two parts. We use the first part, a goal-based narrative that gives the audience the task of profiling potential victims of a serial killer, to simply get the audience started in interacting with the space and environment. The second narrative, what we consider the true interactive narrative, formulates as soon as the audience enters Bloodhound. This works because the audience is actually the killer, and everything that they do in the space is their own personal methodology in picking a victim.
Welcome to Bloodhound.